Good afternoon everyone, and welcome back to the Rah Rah Rabbit. Now I start off today's video with some sad news that the display on my Wacom tablet has died. I've had my Wacom tablet for nearly 10 years now, and yeah, the display has finally gone on it. So I'm hoping that my insurance will cover that. If not, it's probably going to be a while before I'm able to get back on with any of that stuff, which is a shame, but at the same time I'm going to use it as an opportunity to focus on other things like making videos. So I realised that I don't think I've actually talked about this on this channel. I might have done in previous videos, or maybe I've touched upon it briefly before, but I don't think I've really told much of this story, and that is my coming out story, coming out as transgender, telling my friends, my family, and just the process of figuring all of that stuff out. So, as you already know, or maybe you don't, I am trans. I am a transgender man, female to male, and I have been medically transitioning for the best part of a decade now. And before I started medically transitioning, I was socially transitioning for a couple of years. So you know, it's been quite a big part of my life now. So when I came out, I was about 17, 18, and initially I didn't know how I felt about my gender. It wasn't one of those things where, you know, I knew from a very, very young age that I was supposed to be a boy, although I did have a lot of issues around gender growing up. I guess it wasn't as clear-cut and obvious to me what was going on. Now, I never really felt like a girl. You know, I was never very feminine, just stuff around that never really fit with me. And I was always told that I was a tomboy as a kid, and I was okay with that label. As far as I was aware, that meant that I was, you know, a girl who related more to the boys, and, you know, I got to play with the boys at school. I got to, you know, be on the boys team for sports. You know, it was quite relaxed, and I was kind of just okay being the girl that was more like a boy. But then over time, that didn't really feel all that comfortable. Something still wasn't right about that. And I think particularly once puberty kicked in, my body was changing a lot. The way I felt about my gender and about myself was starting to become more evident. Now, you know, I was still quite happy to be a more masculine girl, to be a tomboy, whatever, but I don't know, I think perhaps once my body had started to change, I had a lot of mixed feelings about that, because on the one hand, as a teenager or as a child or whatever, you know, I knew that I was attracted to men, and so when I hit puberty, and it was around the time where, you know, everyone was kind of getting a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you know, I realised that if I look too masculine, I'm probably not going to get a boyfriend. So I kind of embraced femininity for a little while. I kind of embraced all the changes that were happening to my body, because I figured that would make me more attractive to men, and that was what I wanted. So I kind of tried to embrace all of that, but I realised that I was incredibly unhappy. You know, when I tried to be really feminine, I was unhappy. Or even just allowing myself to be masculine, but a masculine girl, I wasn't happy with that. There was just something about it that was wrong. So when I finally realised how I felt about my gender, it was a bit of an uncomfortable journey, because I didn't necessarily have the best approach to trans people. I wouldn't call myself transphobic in the sense that I hated trans people or felt something was wrong with trans people, but I didn't know much about it, and there wasn't really a great deal available 10 years ago. I feel like maybe when I started coming out and transitioning was when things started to take off a bit more and people were becoming more aware of it. But to be honest, you know, I didn't know the word transgender as well, so I think I googled the word sex change because that was like as much as my knowledge was on the topic. And when I was reading about it, when I was reading the NHS website, when I was looking at people who had transitioned, I felt sick. I felt physically sick because I guess I was still dealing with a lot of internalized transphobia and what this meant and how other people were going to treat me. And, you know, I kind of felt like I was a bit of a freak, especially when I'd grown up being called a freak for all my various mental health stuff. You know, it kind of cemented it for me that, oh yeah, I really am a freak. And it took a lot of work to get over that. And, you know, obviously now I don't believe that. And the amount of trans people that I've met who are just wonderful people, who are just people, you know, who are just trying to live their lives. And that's that. So that took a long time for me to kind of get my head around and get comfortable with. I had to get comfortable with it myself first before telling other people or before making any big moves to transition. You know, I told my partner and a couple of my friends, and all that was fine. I knew when it came to telling my family that they would probably be okay with it, but at the same time I knew that it was still a big thing, and you know, I just wasn't quite sure what the reaction was going to be. And again, I thought I had to get to a place, I had to come to my own understanding of my gender and my journey and all of that before I really felt like I could talk to my family about it. Now, when I came out to my mum, it was one day I was sat in bed playing PlayStation, and I just suddenly got this, I don't know, like I'd been wanting to tell her for a while, but just hadn't found the right time, because I guess it's very difficult to find the right time for these things. And there was just this sudden, like, I don't know, almost light bulb moment of like, right, I've got to tell her, I've got to go, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to tell her and I'm just going to do it. And I did. I just got up, I went downstairs, and I think I instantly started crying, but you know, that's what I do. And I just told her how I felt, and that was that. And you know, I think she understood that it was the right choice for me. It wasn't really a surprise to her that this was what I wanted. I think, you know, her main concern really was for my safety and how other people were going to treat me. You know, that was her only, I guess, maybe objection to me transitioning, was just, you know, I was probably going to make life harder for myself by doing it. So yeah, I mean, there was a couple of things to work out there, but ultimately my mum was on board, and the rest of my family as well. It was one of those things where it just wasn't a surprise. My grandparents actually guessed that I was trans, which really surprised me. I thought maybe they would have gone with lesbian, but no, they guessed that I wanted to be a boy. And you know, as soon as they got that confirmation that that was what I wanted, straight away it was he, him pronouns. It was Max. You know, they were the best at it, actually. And as I said, I was really surprised because I just wasn't sure that they would know that trans people even existed, or if they did know that, I didn't think they would have, you know, similar to me, I guess maybe would have had problematic opinions about that. So I would say ultimately my coming out experience was positive. You know, the only people who maybe had issues with it were people who didn't really understand and, you know, were just a bit confused about it. But ultimately, it was a pretty painless experience. Now, I know not everyone has that experience, and I understand that coming out can be, you know, a terrifying thing, and for some people it means they're going to lose family, they're going to lose friends, they're going to lose everything. And obviously my heart goes out to those people who find themselves in that situation. You know, for all the difficulties and challenges that I've faced in my transition, you know, it's safe to say that I've always had the support of people around me, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. And you know, I definitely don't take that for granted. So that was it really. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about coming out. I don't have the most exciting story, but I figured maybe it might help somebody who finds himself in a similar position at the moment and is trying to find the courage to come out to those around them. You know, I will say that people's reactions can be very surprising. You might find that the people you thought would have the worst reaction to it actually handle it far better than you imagined. And you know, might be a lot of people who you think will be on board but won't be. It's kind of one of those things where you can't really know until you take that step. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to support me on Patreon, there will be a link to my link tree below. Feel free to go check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those places. And I will see you in the next video.